Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. And also, the show is known as PWD Allies Podcast on your favorite app, Spotify, wherever you want to check it out. And definitely, I encourage people to subscribe to Neil Matheson's YouTube channel to stay up to date on our latest episodes. Today, I am launching our new series, and it's about disability stories. And today, I have Tom Pogson joining me and talking about his story about disability stories, what Tom has gone through in the recent time. And over to you, Tom. I'm going to pass the mic over, and let's get started.
Okay.
Hello, Tom.
Hello. I don't have like a speech written out. I just have some notes that I made.
Just wing it. Just wing it.
Yeah. If I get maybe that's what I'll do. If I get stuck, like what did I talk about, I can go through that.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm not on PWD myself. I'm not on disability myself. I do have issues of my own that could put me there, but I'm not on it yet. My loved one, Cece, was on disability until she passed away October 17th. A little over a month ago, and so that's what I'm talking about today. She was. I just remembered from my notes. I thought about how there's from the movie Chasing Amy by Kevin Smith. There's a character named Hooper, and who's a black person who's a gay person, and he's like, I'm in a minority, a minority, and a minority. And she had the same situation where she was plus size, First Nations, disabled, and then she started getting illnesses. The one that was aggressive was diabetes. And one of my frustrations with the situation was that her mom had diabetes as well. Diabetes is genetic, and her mom passed away because of complications of diabetes at almost the exact same age that Cece did as well. So, and people around her, like her medical, like her, she actually had a family doctor, unlike so many. She had other people, like she had workers and so forth, but everyone seemed shocked when she got diabetes too. And you kind of feel like this pen could have figured it out. Like, it's like, it's a genetic thing. It's passed on. And her mom looked almost identical. Like they were very similar in shape and size and facial features and everything. And so that was just, it kind of almost points to the kind of frustration which she experienced. Like, she, as a First Nations person, like many people in her community, she gets the effects of downstream effects of residential schools. So you have that trauma that's built into the community. And there's also a level of like overall kind of defunding, where it's like education and like Leah Gazan and Kim Pate have talked about this, where Indigenous people are more likely to end up with problems than many others, where like with education, like I was trying to help her with like doing some reading or something. And I'd had friends who were also Native, and they had some of the same kinds of issues. And then like she I remember she telling me as a kid, where like she had Christmases where it was just December 25th. There was no money. There was like,
we're getting some dropped frames.
We're losing you, Tom.
Maybe they might have gone to church or something. So she knew it horrible. Oh, yeah. What?
Yeah, we we have some dropped frames there. I don't know.
I don't know why that is.
And also too, I don't know why this is it either. But apparently the chat has been disabled for this live stream, and I have no idea why that is either because
Oh.
I didn't do anything. So
Oh.
if anybody's watching now or watching back later going, well, why is there no live stream chat? It's because it's been disabled and I have no idea why. So
Yeah.
I guess
I got this stupid thing called, like, it was kind of like suggesting itself to me. I don't know, like Bit Defender or something, and it give you a trial thing. So I tried that out like a little while. So like that was blocking my camera originally when when I first logged in. So it could be it's
Oh wow.
Hmm.
I got rid of it, but not right now. So, but yeah, back to the thing, I guess.
Did you want to
Yeah.
What?
Did you want to relaunch? Like we could make a new connection and just relaunch it in a few minutes.
Well, I'll tell
we
you what.
could-
If we keep getting dropped frames from, Tom, we can just have him turn off his video.
Yeah.
And just have
I
him
could
on
turn off. I
audio.
could turn off video. It's like, I mean, you know, it's not
Like
Don't-
right now you're good. Let's just
Okay.
let's just monitor it, and if it keeps
Yeah.
dropping, then we'll just drop your video, and it should be enough to sustain the audio at least.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
And again, I don't really know why.
Yeah. It's weird that it
Why?
would block some of it, but not all of it, or something like that. You know.
Yeah. Well, right now you're good. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but her anyway. Her I wanted to like touch a little bit on her background and stuff like that, and you know, struggle that she had up until when I met her, which was 9 years ago, or a little over 9 years ago. I met her just after her birthday, and let's see, and we at first we were, you know, we were both doing well and everything, and but as we, like, I'm 48, she was a little bit younger than me. And when after the diabetes kicked off, it was like more and more little things started getting harder and harder for her to do, or as other things, and she'd get I don't want to go into all the things, but like she had problems with mobility, which was really, really difficult because as a diabetic person, you're taking insulin, which of course is increasing your weight. If your mobility is going down, then your ability to burn that weight off is going down at the same time. So everything's getting harder and harder. It's almost like it's like a horrible version of, like, you know, like your kids or something, where someone hasn't seen you for a while and like, oh wow, so, you know, or Jake, like, wow, he's really grown. It's like a really bad it's like a bad version of that, where it's like you don't realize like how much things have gotten more and more difficult until you, like, more recently I've been looking back some of the old photos. I'm like, wow, we were doing so many things back then.
Well, that
you know,
you mentioned a good point there, Tom, because that was exactly the same with my wife too. Is that I mean, she always struggled with her weight as well.
Yeah.
You know, but and she was small too. I think she was like 4'10" or something actually.
Yeah.
But she had arthrogryposis, and because of having that disability, which was pretty significant, you know, the doctors would they would just say, well, she's just gaining weight because of her lack of mobility.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it turned out that she had lupus, but it was undiagnosed for 4 years. So she had this lupus for 4 years, and of course we all know that lupus can cause a lot of weight gain, like because she was taking that prednisone. They didn't know again what it was, but I mean, prednisone is a nasty steroid, really nasty steroid that can cause a lot of fluid retention and weight gain. And they just thought, well, it's just because of her disability, no big deal. So for 4 years, and these were the experts on on things like lupus and stuff, even though they didn't really know that that's what she had at first. But supposedly these were the experts in all of BC, and they did, and these guys didn't even know, you know. And she went to like 3 or 4 of the supposedly the very best and brightest minds in all of the province.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
they couldn't figure it out until it was too late.
Almost like not misdiagnosed. Yeah.
And that's my point is I think it's common for doctors to misdiagnose because of if you already have an underlying condition, they're like, oh well, it's just because of
It's so easy to see diabetes or that one as like that must be the thing that's causing it. Like she got Bell's palsy early on. She started getting itchy, like whatever, and then the vertigo thing started happening, and that was the worst. I mean, like she literally she had vertigo literally up until like the last day in the hospital, because of course stress makes it happen too.
Right.
But basically, if she got a vertigo attack, I'd have to get 2 gravel into her, lie her down as fast as possible. I'd heat these bags, put one here because she had pain here from when she'd fall. So I'd put one here, put another one back there. So I'd get her to sleep as fast as possible so she wouldn't be throwing up. And like I had everything kind of set up, ready to go like that. And it was just ongoing. It was like this. It's like this is why like it's hard to talk about it in a way, because it makes it sound like, oh god, it was so hard. Like I would do it again. If I could get her back, I'd do twice as much. But it's like this apartment had to run like a hospital basically. Like I had times when you guys saw it where all of a sudden, but like, sorry, I gotta go. Where things could just happen. It could happen right now. And so but like she tried Ozempic, and that sent her vertigo through the freaking roof. Like it was like bang, 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 bang all day, like on a Sunday when I was at work. Like she wake up and take 2 gravel and go back to sleep again. Right. Like it was just so brutal. And but this was just ordinary life. We were trying to figure out like, okay, so we cut out sodium, we cut out caffeine, because those can increase the amount of vertigo. When it came to diabetes, like we almost have like almost no sugar in the household. And like but it's like we both had our own problems, because I have the IBS thing, which even like I got a list of foods of like stuff that I can't eat the night before a show, and all those foods are low FODMAP, gluten-free. It's like it doesn't even matter if they're okay, they're still not okay. Right. Like it's so like both of us had our own, like I remember in like the last month, he was like, what's wrong with us? Like I remember joking, like we should go to like UVic and be like, you guys are doing research on dieting. We are your perfect case studies.
Yeah.
And but and you know what's really bizarre? This is a funny story, but not really funny. It's just kind of ironic. That when my wife, the last month that she was alive in the hospital, we transferred her from Surrey Memorial to St. Paul's. And then like she had another sister that was also adopted. Like my wife was adopted, and she had another sister that was adopted. And I remember her calling me one night and saying, you need to come to the hospital, Neil. Ilana's going to die today. She's going to die today. Like it was just like she was so sure that she's going to die today. She says, and it was like, I don't know, it was like 9 o'clock at night or whatever, right? And she said, just come down to the hospital because she's going to die. But what was happening to me was I was actually passing a kidney stone.
Oh God!
I was on the toilet, and I mean it was like that was my first experience with that. And like I'd never experienced anything like that in my life, and it's just like razor blades. I'm telling you, it's like I was on the toilet just sweating like buckets, like I was like wet with sweat.
So sorry.
And she's calling me saying you got to go to the hospital, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't. I'm passing a stone, and I'm literally praying to God. I'm telling God, like, take me now, please. That was that bad. And I have her adopted sister phoning me saying, Neil, you got to get to the hospital. I'm thinking, there's no flipping way I can't. Like, and it was just like one of those like crazy ironies where God was like, you know what, your wife's going through a trial, I'm putting you through a trial too. And it was just
My
like
gosh.
it was just so
Yeah.
weird and bizarre.
Yeah.
You know.
Same time
Like,
at the
yeah.
Yeah. It was just a weird,
Yeah.
weird thing. Yeah.
Ours was it's yeah, speaking of weird, it's like the last week, okay, I'll bring it to the last week and then I'll go through the thing. The
Yeah.
last week before, because she had that same like other folks have, it's, what was it called again? The Dexcom system, where
Dexcom, yeah.
you put it here and it goes to your phone and you could see your sugars. And for the week before, her sugars are incredibly good, which is
Huh.
weird.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any vertigo stuff. She had one thing where her eye had kind of like gone like that, and I was trying to help her like get what was it? Get the water, boil it, let it cool, then put some sodium in it and like a saline thing, and then put it there and just lie like that, and that helped a little bit.
Mhm.
But it was like week before I got paid, and so we had to go and do like we usually because First Nations, so we'd go to the gas station on a res, you get the discount gas.
Mhm.
So we did that. Saw her brother, saw my parents for brunch or something. It was that was on Sunday, and then we got home, and I was loading in groceries because it was like, again, it was my payday, so I was like trying to get everything done. And she was coming behind with her cane, and I was going to come back for it. I totally missed that someone had put the mat at the front of our apartment up like this. She tripped over that, fell on her cane, broke her arm. I didn't know she'd broken her arm, but that's what happened. So because I'd helped her get up before, and what I would do is I'd take a chair, turn it around so she could get on the chair like that, and I would lift her from behind.
Yeah.
Whereas this time is like, obviously it couldn't because she'd broken her arm. So then it was so funny because her sister-in-law Heather had told us, you know what, if you ever have a problem, just call emergency. They'll get you in faster than if you just go there. So I'm like, okay, well, let's take her advice now. Let's call emergency. Because I originally thought I just need help getting her out, and that was it. Like there was nothing else on my mind. There was no kind of, oh my God, it could be any, something could be coming. And so we got her up, and then the paramedics, they use that thing that kind of like you sit on it and it just lifts you. So they use that, and that helped them. And they're like, your breathing doesn't seem that great. We're gonna take you in. We're gonna take you in. And so I still had to go to work. So I thought, okay, there's gonna be a lot of processing and stuff. I'll go to work. Obviously, I'll have my phone on, and she can call me when she's ready. And so, it was just like I thought she'd be home like that evening, and I'll make pasta and all that stuff. And then at work, I called her, and she's kind of, where are you? I'm at work. Got a couple hours done. And like, okay. It's like, then I found out it's like, okay, I might be here overnight. And then it's like, broke your arm. I'm like, oh no. And so I finally got home, packed a whole bunch of stuff, took it over there. She's like, I don't know when I'm going to be getting a room. So your heart's in the right place, but I don't want this stuff here. I don't want it stolen or something. So I was like, okay. So I just made sure she had a few things and took the other stuff back again. And then the next day was Monday the 16th, and it was like, okay, she's going to be here until Thursday. We're going to be monitoring her because we're still concerned about her asthma. And she just had the little thing. The little thing kept falling out. Like she had the oxygen thing, and one side kept falling out. And I'm like, it was so funny. I was literally on the way to the hospital, I think a third time. I was also fixing the car at the same time. But I was like, maybe I should get some medical tape so that, wait a minute, it's a hospital. They should have medical tape there. Anyway, so it's like that was one thought. The other one was when I was visiting her, and she typical C style, she did that little picture on Facebook where she gave the world the finger with her broken hand.
I saw that. I saw that.
That was perfect. Like for a final photo, that's absolutely the way to go out. It
was like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah, having a good day, not. But what was funny was the hospital had also put her, that kind of button you have for an emergency. They put it on the side of the broken arm. So I kept moving it over to the correct side.
Oh man.
But it was just, and then, but I didn't spend anywhere near as much time. This is one of these things that you beat yourself up for after. Like I didn't spend anywhere near as much time as I'd like to have because I had to work that night, and I had to get this stuff ready for work and all the things. And right, and then it's the 17th, and I wake up at about 10:30 because that's what I usually do. I would normally have rehearsal that day at like 1:30 or something. I woke up at 10:30 because I work until like 3-4 in the morning. And I saw all these messages coming in of like, people trying to get a hold of me or whatever. And I thought naturally they wanted to know where she was, because I was still hoping that she had been moved upstairs to an actual room. She was stuck in emergency with people throwing up in front of her and all this stuff, like when I was there. Just, yeah. And so I tried calling her, obviously no response. I sent a text, which I posted on, I think something, I think I posted it on my personal Twitter, just to kind of like, yeah, that was, because I found her phone later and like, oh wow, there's that text. And like, oh, everyone's trying to find out where you are. I love you. And then the next call, because I went down the list, was her sister-in-law, and I heard her voice change. And I'm like, there's only one reason her voice would change, but that's impossible. And then it was, Cece passed away, and those words, like, I know I was there because we actually didn't sleep together. We slept that she slept in. I'll get to this. She slept in that room. I slept there on that kind of pull out thing, because we actually had a hard time sleeping. It wasn't a non-romantic thing. We'd wake each other up. So I was right there. Just all of a sudden, my heart's racing. I'm like, what? That's impossible. Like, and that's how it started. And it's just walking around the room, heart racing. Heather talking to me. Let's see. She told me, like, people are coming down. Eddie's coming down. That's their brother. Yeah, I'm not going through it again right now. maybe I need my notes. But
it's okay. It's okay.
Let's see. It was just. Let's see. Thank you. Boo. Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter if it's in order.
Yeah,
anyway.
Race to the hospital. Finally found parking at the very top of like the top of the thing. Came down, and they went in, and it was like, okay, yeah, oh, that was it. She's in room 10. So I'm like, I go in there. I'm like, I'm here to see Cece Sawyer. She's in room 10, and it's like, okay, yeah, yes, this way, sir. And I got in there, and the chief was already in there. And so I saw her, put my hand on her, said something, and then I described this on a blog. It's like the only thing I could think of was my soul fell.
Yeah.
And it's just, then I just started crying. And then somebody put a hand on me, and it's like, you did everything you could, something like that. And then I sat down, was just crying, and some more folks came in. Her favorite aunt and uncle, they came in, and then I finally went outside, was talking to Heather and Sheba and some other like cousins and things, and just kind of, just general conversation, like kind of half happy to see me, but also crying as well, or unhappy. And then her brother comes, and her brother and her were like really tight, but they were also, he was like the male version of her, like a big guy, really great guy, and he hugged me and he started crying, and it was like hugging her, because he had the same cry that she would have, that where he like hit a note and hold it like that, and I'm like, then I just cried again, because I'm like,
almost like a twin,
He was like an older twin or something. And so then eventually I went to Starbucks, because that's kind of Starbucks. That's where I was this morning. It's kind of like my launching spot. Like if I can't be here, I'm there. Like this morning, like I said, they cut off the water in the building, because they do that from time to time. So it's like, okay, to Starbucks. All right, work there. Because with IBS, it's like, I can't be in a place with no washers. That just sets my stomach off, because it's like, there'll be nothing wrong, and it'll just be like, you've got no washroom, and my stomach starts acting like terrible. So I was just there, and just still, it's like you're still in like, even now there's a little bit of that disbelief, even though because it's just so hard to process something that huge. And then went to the res that night. Obviously, I booked off work, booked off the rehearsal. I think it was like at the hospital afterwards. I think I asked Heather, like, okay, I know because at first, like, Beecher Bay and it's like Ski and New Beecher Bay is where the reservation is from and her nation. And it's like, okay, so I know, like, I knew a couple of the rules. You're not supposed to cry at night. Which is difficult because of course we're almost in winter, but and the other one is no posting of photos of the deceased until I think a year, and then because it just helps people mourn or not get too much grief. And let's see, and so but anyway, so I went to Beecher that night. And it was a tough emotional night for everybody, and it was like the first meeting of like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And then next day I was at and it was kind of Heather was amazing. Heather was like again my kind of sister-in-law, and she was very fortunate. Her and Donnie were a cousin were really really great. Like Donnie was immediately like, okay, you got to get smudge. Like, okay. But she would eventually do the smudging, the kind of cleansing ceremony around this apartment. I had like the power turned off because if you have it on, the hardwired fire alarm would have gone berserk. So I had to turn everything off. But that was later on. But let's see. But yeah, Heather was great because her background was she's actually a dental office assistant. So she's like super organized, like, okay, so tomorrow we're doing this, and then at 10 o'clock this, and then stuff like that. So went to Hatley, to set up, talk with them. Then to the care service thing where I didn't know she'd actually been moved to that same building from the hospital like the day 3 or day 4 or something like that. I didn't know that until afterwards. I'm like, good thing you didn't tell me. But then we picked out. Actually, I'm not going to show it because that'd be kind of weird. But just over here, I have like a little shrine from both the ceremony, and I got a little because she was cremated, a little vial thing of like we all kind of picked out of like which one she'd be in. Her brother got a little locket, and I got a little tiny mini urn that just has like a little fleck in it. It's just over there. So it's kind of sorting all those kind of little details out. I found a thing that I'd written down that she's like, yeah, I want things to be done this way, and I want to be buried near my mom, which that's exactly what it was funny. That's what we thought, and then we found it like, oh great, yes, she did say that. But yeah, like then came home, and yeah, that first night was just impossible. It was just completely impossible. It's like whatever you did, you didn't want to be doing that. If you tried, like, I'm gonna watch a show. I don't want to watch a show. Okay, I'll stand up. No, I want to sit down. No, I don't want to sit down. Like it's like that all fucking night. Like
100%. Like 100%.
Yeah, it was just my brother-in-law said it.
I remember that too.
It's like today is a day of all blackness, no light. It's like yep.
Yeah.
It's like I went for a walk down the Dallas Road, just listening to music for a while, and then came back. And I think what finally helped me get to sleep was like I found a British comedy I hadn't seen since I was a kid, and I just watched endless episodes of it until I passed out. Eventually got myself a mandolin because I wanted something physical to do, and even now I'm getting to the point where I can do a little bit of reading here. But I spent so much money in that first month on coffees at Starbucks or Tim Hortons. Because again, you just didn't want to be here. Like this is like our place.
It's hard. Yeah.
For sure.
That was But I had like I really again appreciate like you get a lot of support from people, which was amazing, and everyone reaching out, and I appreciate everyone's reach. Like there was one kind of funny thing that happened, which is that Jeff Leggett, he had thanked me and on some other platform, and so I went, oh thanks Jeff or whatever. And then he thanked me again on Instagram. And I was like, well, it feels weird thanking him the same way again. So I'll just like it. And then other people started coming in on an Instagram post. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to say something because then it looks like I'm not saying it to Jeff. So I'll just like them. And then like Scott Santons actually responded on that one, like, oh, Tom, I'm so sorry. This is the worst thing. I'm like, well, I can't single Scott out and go, thanks, Scott. So I'm like,
well, and it's like I shared with you, Tom, is like one of the things that I noticed right away. I told you this was that I felt that my brain shrank, like everything just got like my world got really small, right?
Yeah.
And I just realized that because prior to that experience, like when somebody would say it, like I'd have whoever would reach out and say, let's do something in like a couple weeks or a month, like let's have dinner in a month or whatever, like you like plan way in advance, right? And I just realized, like, with my shrunken brain, like unless somebody said, let's go today, and get caught, like it had to be within 24 hours. Like I was operating in 24-hour chunks for like so many months, like 24-hour chunks, and that was it. Like maybe 48 hours at the most, right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody didn't call me and say, let's do something now, Neil, if it was like, let's do something in a few days, it might as well have been like 3 years down the road. Like I couldn't process it, right?
Like something like when I lost my biological mom, it took me so long to process that. Like I still, Tom and Neil and whoever else is, anyone else is watching it. And then I'll dive into a segment one day, and I'll talking about my story on that too, about but just to summarize it though, it took a lot of grieving time for me to accept it. Like I got a phone call, and I had put my mom, and my brother had put my mom into a home, right? Because she'd be better taken care of, and got the support that she needed in the home. My mom was very active, Tom, until she was like 80 years old. And she was bike riding, everything, like wow. But she kept telling me like something's not right, Brent. And finally, like we had put her into a home, and I got the phone call, and my phone rang half a ring. I was like, what? Like, what's going on here, right? Call display showed me, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I called back, like, oh, that's weird, and no answer. I'm like, that's odd. And then the phone rang again, and then they told me like, yeah, your mom slipped away. And I go, where'd that little devil go? I said, well, where'd that little devil go? Because like I would get a call before, like times, hey, she's slipped away. We can't find her. She's somewhere in the facility.
Oh, right.
And so I figure, okay, like, yeah, where did she go this time? And they're like, Brent, I don't know how to tell you this, but no, she slipped away. Like she's passed on. And my heart just it didn't stop, but it felt like my soul just bottomed right out, and anything that around me, it didn't matter, like nothing else around at the time. And I went through the same thing. Like I had no interest in nothing. I had to go to work that day, and they basically, the employer said, well, if you need to go home. And I said, no, I can't. Like, I mean, like my home was where I was renting from. And my roommate at the time was very, very supportive, extremely. But the ironic part is that I had the option of going home, but every time I would hear music, we had a jukebox where I was working. People would put a coin in, and boom, music would go. And every time this one song came on, for some reason, it just hit me. Like it just, the emotional tears just came down. I could not stop. It was like a waterfall. And a good friend of mine at the time, he's now passed away. God rest his soul. But he was a reverend. And he popped. The doors came open of the business. He came walking in and said, "I felt I needed to be here today." And I was like, "Oh man!" Like he didn't know why. So I mean, like things happen for whatever reason, and nobody really knows when that time is supposed to be. And to prepare yourself for when the time is right, and and that's why I always reach out, and then anyone going through grieving processes, and just letting them know that anyone that's close around me in my life, I say, like, I'm here. And I still remember that night, Sonia and I said, well, she wanted to go for coffee. And I said, okay, we want to go for a bite. And so we went downtown, and so we're looking, and then that's when we bumped into you, like, because she said, well, we'll go for coffee, and then we'll figure out somewhere to go for a bite, right? And we're like, oh, we bumped into you, and then we were gonna go check out that other pizza place, but then we decided to go to Subway after all, and then that's when I did a little breaking with Brent's segment there.
the spicy Subway.
The hot spicy one, and then then we came back, and we because I mean, it was just the look on your face, Tom, was like, wow, like, thank you, like, well,
I mean, like, I was there for exactly that kind of reason of, like, okay, today I'll try going to Tim's. I tried Good Earth, but they're a bit expensive. They're good, but they're expensive.
I wanted to reach out to MJ and see if you had any comment, MJ. You've just been kind of listening to everything.
Well, this has really been about talking about what Tom's been going through, and I mean, I'm here because I can totally relate, because me and my ex went and she got diagnosed with schizophrenia. They gave her the pills, sent her out of the hospital. It's like because she lived in the US, unfortunately, and things went from bad to permanently worse, and she ended her life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's like the phone call that just that's the part that people don't get. Phone calls, like, can't believe it.
Can't believe. It's like it's crazy to say it's like a joke, but it's almost like a joke. Like, like, what? That's what?
That's what
exactly,
I went
right? Like, I just spoke to him. I spoke to the person a couple days ago. But the problem was what happened was she just started cutting people off, and she cut me off, and she wouldn't talk. And I tried to call. I mean, things got progressively worse and weirder, and and then this happened, and she went and ended her life. And I mean, that was 4 years ago this past November 9th. And
so every time around this time of year, it's probably comes back to you fresh, right?
I mean, people think, oh, you get over it.
No,
you don't get over it. No,
you don't get over it.
It's like, I mean, so it's still fresh. 4 years later, it's still fresh. It's like you think you got over it, or it's like something will remind you, or a song will play that you both like, and all of a sudden, boom, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And you're sitting there going, damn, and it just rips you apart right all over again.
I had it hit me in a grocery store.
It hits you the weirdest time. It hits you.
Like, I was like, there was a whole bunch of things that happened, and like, it was actually my dad that stopped me from, like, going to my car and crying, because, like, I'm about to like load all the groceries into the car, and all of a sudden I'm like, Dad, what now? And him talking about some other thing kind of like, I guess, interrupted where my brain was. But
well, MJ was talking. MJ was talking about the phone call, and I just wanted to go back to that. And again, we know this is your story, Tom, so I don't want to take up the time, but I just wanted to relay, like, for me, going back to the phone call, like that I had too, is the hospital called me and said, your wife is going to die today. Like, for sure. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. She's going to die today. That's what they said. I had a nurse call me, and they said, we're going to try to keep her on life support for as long as we can. You have to just come down to the hospital, go to the hospital right now, and we'll try to keep her alive. And but the next thing the nurse said, she says, are you okay? And I said yes. And then the very next question was, do you feel like killing yourself? Like seriously, that was the very next question, is now that I've told you that your wife is going to die, do you feel like killing yourself? And I'm like, and that was a legit question coming out of her.
Wow.
And I was like, And I was like,
Wow.
wow.
Oh.
So that was number one shocker.
Wow.
You know, it was really shocking to me. And then I got to the hospital, and unfortunately my wife had already passed. Like I missed her by about, I think about half an hour or so, like
Neil.
or maybe 20 minutes. Like she had just passed. And so I went to see her body, and of course it's just weird to see a lifeless body there that you knew was so full of life at one point, and you just see this empty shell of a body. But the other thing that shocked me too, so it was the phone call shocked me, but then the next thing that shocked me was when I actually left the body and I said, do I have to sign anything? Is there anything for me to do? And they said, no, just go. And I said, I mean, I don't have to do anything. And they're like, no, just go. And I was so sure that I had to do some formal, like signing a whole bunch of, like, you know how when you do a marriage or something, like, you know how it is, like a marriage is so like official and you have to sign all this. So I was thinking I had to do all this documentation. I was like, I have to make it official that, and like, no, just go. And that kind of shocked me too. And you realize like how, like once a person dies, like it doesn't matter. Like there's nothing more official to you know what I mean? Like that's the thing that really shocked me, is like once a person's gone, it's like they're gone and there's nothing official that you have to sign afterwards. And but that really shocked me though.
That one didn't get me, because I mean her chief of Beecher was there, so I guess I figured, okay, that's all handled by him, and the other elders are here and so forth, and they've got that. What frustrated me was the fact that she was there for monitoring. And it's like literally that was the job, was to keep an eye on her. And it's like, she was okay at 5 o'clock and she was gone at 6. And it's like, we tried to revive her and we couldn't. It's like, what? And what was the other thing? I was going towards something and I don't know what it was. But like, let's see. The other thing, of course, is now trying to sort out. Like, I got my employer. Like, I had a thing on Friday where I tried doing an extra job because, of course, it's like this. I mean, like what I normally was doing and what I, do, and everyone knows me for, is basic income. That's what brought me onto everything in the first place. And literally, she passed probably within an hour or two of the Senate thing. And so at this almost the same moment that happened. So I was all ready for this situation over here. Obviously, like I went, okay, I can't do any social, like I'll just, like I'm trying to keep the Instagram thing going so my activity doesn't fall to the floor. So I was like, maybe I'll just put up some stuff like kind of like run greatest hits or run some basic income quote stuff, or just throw that out there. But then at the same time, there was all this. It was almost like with the work thing where I wanted to go back to work, but I also didn't. It was like I wanted to do this stuff, but I didn't want to do anything because I didn't want it to be like so thrown off by my emotions that it'd be not that great anyway. So I was like, maybe I just shouldn't do it. But then all this idiocy of like, here comes communism for Canada. It's like, oh, for fuck. Okay, guys, listen. So it gave me something to do for that week. But it was just so frustrating. Like, it was almost the same moment as that. So, but I was doing that stuff again, not in the home, but out of the home. But also just the fact of like the clawbacks thing and all that stuff. And it's like, I'm minimum wage. I've always been minimum wage because I've been the musician, which is my own choice, but there you go. And then I've now got this issue. And of course, having the issue thing makes it hard to add more work, but but I also my band and things, but it's like, it like we both help with rent, but it wasn't like she was spending that much on food. So it's like, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, so am I wanting to add more stuff? But then I tried to add one on Friday, which was a total disaster. And I have them asking like today, like, well, there's this new contract. It's like 3 hours a day, 3 times a week. And I'm like, that's still a lot. When you put the other contracts together with it, it ends up being either the same if I throw one of them, or it's too much. And if I get an IBS attack, I'm screwed. So it's like, you don't want to be like, no, it's not good enough for me. It's like, but it's like, if it doesn't work, it's not going to work, and it's going to be frustrating. So, but it's like, you don't there's that whole side of it. And there's the fact that it's like, that they'll claw you back if there's incomes or whatever. It's like, it's crazy. It's not like we were living large together. And now it's like, so can I keep the joint, or because we were grandfathered in? So I literally lived across the hall in a bachelor. Now I live in a 1-bedroom. That bachelor is now probably more expensive than this 1-bedroom, and it's probably more expensive than, less expensive than most places in Victoria. So it's impossible to move out.
And this whole show today, Tom, and everybody, the reason why we're doing a show like this is it was all about sharing a personal experience. So I really wanted to get away from politics discussion.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
was also wondering which way to go with it, but
but one thing I will say, even though we're going to try to minimize the politics today,
that's fine.
Is that it bugs me that provincial governments, because I'm getting the clawback, right? And it's like they don't value, death is disrespected. Death is, it's like, well, you had your spouse die, no big deal. Here's a clawback. And I can tell you firsthand, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Your spouse dies, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And the provincial government says, "Oh, you had your wife die? Congratulations." It's literally like, congratulations. Here's a clawback. And again, I mean, that's all I'll say about it, because I don't want to get into the politics today.
Yeah,
but that is my number. That's why for the last 10 years I've been so passionate about it, because it's so effed up.
Yeah, there's something that I want to.
It's so effed up for the government to say.
Humanity to the system.
It's just stupid and sick and perverted.
I wanted to jump in on that topic too, just to quickly summarize it too. And I remember when I mentioned I got the call, right, and I was told, well, what do you so she slipped away, and I what do you want us to do with her body? I'm already going through trauma, and it's like, well, what do you want me to do with the body?
Are they sociopaths?
And I'm thinking, well, that's
the body. What do you think?
I said, well, right away, I'm like, well, call my brother. Well, we can't reach him. We don't. He's not answering. I go, well, I don't know what to do. So anyway, I got the phone. I hung up the phone. I hung up the phone on them. So I knew that they would call. But fast forward through that is that, I'm thinking, well, I was going through some hard times too. It was around the time where I had lost my job, just because of my disability, and sorry, this is not going to work out for you. So I went to the ministry, and I said, I need some extra help. Well, you know what I was told? Well, I'm going through a trauma. And it was saying, well, you need to budget better. I mean, and I don't want to get into all the politics stuff. Yeah. But you know what? One thing that really always stuck in my mind, Tom, was the government, the worker says, yeah, you lost your mom. I'm so sorry to hear that. But you know what? I lost my mom too, and life goes on, Brent. You need to kind of work with it the best way you can. And I literally lost it, and I said,
you don't need to hear that.
Yeah, you know what I said right to the worker? I said, did you not even hear me? I just lost my mom. I said, right now, I don't need to have somebody telling me and school me on how to deal with my own personal mental well-being at this point in time. Well, there's
the violent images that go in my head of you want to see how much I don't think of this as a learning experience.
And again, this is
are you high?
This is one thing I shared with you too, Tom, is that before my wife passed away, there was somebody at my church I used to go to, who I think it was 3 or 4 years before my wife passed away. He had his wife passed away very unexpectedly. She was so healthy, and I think to this day he still doesn't know why she died. She just went to sleep, and she she passed away in her sleep, and it was like a huge shock. But when that happened, he had so many people reaching out and saying, "Oh, it's going to be okay, Eddie. It's going to be okay." And it was almost like so much like overload. It was like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. That he almost felt like he didn't have time to like figure out his own headspace, because people were so busy telling him it's going to be okay. And I was one of those people that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything, because I'm just going to shut up and say nothing, because I don't want to be that person just going, it's okay, Eddie. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. When I know, like, it's probably not okay for him.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm just going to like sit here. But everybody, I saw everybody else going, "Oh, it's okay," and I was like, "That's too much."
Yeah,
like
it's like everyone has like one thing I've learned from the little bit of, there was one, a lot of the videos, like they have videos on stuff, and I've been watching more recently, but in the first week or something, there was one that's an animated one that has the people who are mourning have like eyes that look kind of really sad. That one's really good. That one kind of helped me out a bit. Like, and as they said in the video, it's like everyone processes differently. It's not like you go through the different stages in the same order and whatever. It's like, no, like if you're not okay, you're not okay. Like it's fine. Like like I have different, I always feel a bit bad because I have ADHD and I naturally joke a lot and stuff like that. So it's like, is he grieving? But it's like I have, like, on the first day there was no laughter. Since then it's gotten a little bit more, and I'm a little bit, whatever. Now, but it's like you still have moments when you're like, like that, and then on other moments when you're fine or whatever. Like work was, at first I wanted to work, and then the first few nights it's like I lost my voice with how much I was like angry with everything, angry with God and stuff. I'm kind of like Tevier from Fiddler on the Roof, where I'm like, why, it's like I believe in him, but he pisses me off, kind of thing. And I'll be talking to her. I actually made a bit of a joke of that in the apartment, because she'd always make fun of the fact that I talk to myself. And now I'm like, hey, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to you now. Ha. And other little funny things, like people at Beach are really, really great about this, because they had this thing of like, the people like me and Eddie, her brother, we're the ones who are like the most hit by it. And so their thing is like, you guys are clouded, so we're not going to put any responsibilities on you. We're going to take care of things. You just show up if you can. If you can't, we understand. And people are really, really amazing about that. And just, like, because as Heather said, it's like so much is going to come at you in that first like week. It's just like, boom,
overwhelming.
Like but it was, I remember when I was driving to one of them, like I had the whole week off of work, and driving to one of the meetings, it was kind of funny. It was like trying to get there, and I felt like I was a little bit late, and this guy was like slow in front of me, and I'm like,
oh no,
you're gonna hold to like just below the speed limit the whole way there. Finally, he pulls off. I'm like, okay, great. I get up to speed, and then there's a school section, and it was about 6 something. So I'm like, so I start to hesitate, like, okay, is it actually, am I supposed to slow down now? And this guy behind me flies past me, and I'm like, oh, you did not fucking do that. And I got up to about, and this is a windy country, dark wooded road at night. I think I got up to about 104 at one point. So it's like, I can't believe I just did that. I understand why you did it, Tom, but don't do that again. But it was almost like that was one kind of like good slap. I mean, it's bad because don't do that. I'm not suggesting that out there, people. But it was almost like one of those things of like something I just felt I needed to do, because I was just like emotionally whatever. So I'm like, go. But it's like it manifests in really weird ways. Like I don't normally do that, but
the country road.
And like I say, I got the mandolin because like it was something physical to do. One of those kind of expensive things. I still play it because I'd been thinking about it anyway, and I suddenly thought of like, Sting saying how like music saved his life, and my fiddler actually took up fiddle when she was diagnosed with cancer, and she's like, I always wanted to play fiddle. And so I was kind of like, all right, that's it. I'm going to go along with Quaid and just grab a cheap mandolin and lease it. And so I have a mandolin now. So it was just, yeah, it was like, it's kind of funny. It's like I play bass. Mandolin is basically a backwards upside down bass.
Right.
So like a bass guitar is EADG, a mandolin is GDAE.
Oh.
You know, so it's like I literally have to kind of like, okay, so this is, so it's kind of similar but kind of weird.
Yeah. You had a comment, MJ?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, have you noticed? I mean, one of the things that I found for myself is that some of the things that I used to enjoy doing now I just don't enjoy as much.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know if you found that. You know, for each of you guys that have lost someone, you know, a spouse. I mean, because it's like there's certain things you find that you were enjoyed doing, or there's certain songs you enjoyed listening to. Now you just won't ever listen to them ever again. It's just you'll change the channel on the radio to avoid hearing that song, or you'll not watch a movie because it reminds you of somebody, your spouse. You know, I mean, things like that.
Well, I don't watch TV full stop. I basically only have the TV now on the. I don't know if I can get rid of cable because I don't. But like I only have it on the security camera thing. We used to watch shows together, so that's gone. So yeah, certain songs I can't do.
Yeah.
There's just I don't know, like going like eating out, or like it just feels weird cooking for yourself, like making it really good or whatever, like little things like that. It's like why?
For the longest time it was this, it's like I kept thinking of stuff like, why do I deserve to eat? Like, why do I even deserve to have put effort into like putting a good meal together and stuff like that, like stupid stuff like that, right?
Or Christmas, like I used to do the setup of all the I do the tree and stuff because it was hard for her to get down and do the tree. So and the stuff's downstairs, and I'm like, well, okay, I don't even want to bring it out. It's stupid. Like it was it was a thing for us, but I also had to do stuff with like in the first week it kept me busy. And that was the thing I was also worried about was how. Like I was kept busy, like because there's like ceremonial stuff, which is it's a little bit like a Viking funeral thing, where when they have the funeral afterwards, or like it was like 4 changes of her favorite clothes. I had to pick out all of her favorite foods, like foods that she liked, like Ocean Garden Chinese food, chicken, like sushi. It's like other things that she liked, and so you'd get them all. They'd get them all together. And some other things, and so they put it all together, and then after the service they'd go to the res and it'd all be burned. So basically it's like it's sent up to her. But I spent basically the first week like kind of like organizing her stuff in the room. And like I tried recently trying to sleep in, because it's like I have a bedroom there now, which is like it's got a it's a good bed and everything. I still can't sleep in it. I tried. Like I can't do it. It was like it wasn't just that was her bed or that was like her spot on the bed. That was her spot, full stop. Because like that was like she'd lie there and she'd get either there or that chair there, and she'd it was like she'd have her laptop set up, her tablet, her medical stuff if she needed it, like all this stuff was right there. So it's like sometimes I'd go in the apartment, like if I'm talking to her, I'll be talking to that spot, pretend like almost like she's there, like that's her. It's like, it's funny because her little shrine is over here. Almost like it would be too much. Should I put the shrine next to the bed for now? Because that was kind of like, that was her, So like for the first 2 weeks, that door was closed. I like only went in there when I had to do stuff. And I was doing like, I'd be doing like between half an hour and in the first week, more than half an hour, but like half an hour's work a day on something, So it's like all these little kind of chores. And now it's like, this is the part that I worry about, was like, and I've been more tearful since, which is like, now it's all stopped. Before there was like, you got to do this thing. So it was almost like she was still in my life because I had to do this thing and and now it's like,
I don't know. For me, and I think also for MJ, you'll attest to this, but for years afterwards, your emotions are going to be like just below the surface, right? It's always just below. So any little thing is just, like I never used to cry very much at movies and stuff, and I cry like a baby at any little thing now, and it's just because everything is just, it's so raised, like everything is just right up there, right? And what I was going to say, sorry, MJ, what I was going to say is, like, I'm really bad at quoting scripture, so I'm sorry. but there's one scripture in the Bible that says, when a man and a woman get married, it's like the two shall become one flesh.
Yeah.
And so when your spouse dies, it's like the flesh is cleaved in half. So I literally felt like half a person. So you literally feel like half a person, and you have there's no choice but to reinvent yourself. Like you're forced to reinvent yourself, because you're like half a person and you're forced to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
So go ahead, MJ. Sorry.
Well, exactly. It's like, after my ex's death, I had to go find something to do to keep my mind busy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was like you have to just keep moving, because if you stop, if your mind just stops, that's when it just comes and hits you like a ton of bricks. It'll be like you'll be in the shower and it'll be like you're trying to figure out what you need to do today. Then a smell or an odor or something comes through, because the smells, like or a thought or something, and it just hits you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
People think, it's like at the worst time is when it hits you. It's like people think, oh, you'll get over it in a couple of years or 4 years later.
No.
It's
Never.
I mean, it's gonna be it'll be something.
One thing that actually helped me, Tom, too, is to help to get through it. And I mean, you never will ever, never forget, Cece, and no one will ever forget their loved ones. But one thing, and then she was a wonderful person. I'm so grateful to have met her.
We met in Savon. I remember us meeting in Savon. That was fun.
Yeah, that was great. And but one thing that actually helped me, for myself personally, is cherishing the happy times, the fun times, and remembering just the great thoughts of the time that's spent together with the loved one. I mean, it really helped me. And getting to the song, I don't know, as I was trying to think when you were talking, the one song that really, and I'm even to this day, like I have to turn the song off, and I know it's a good song, but it's called, I just can't think of the artist name, but I'm sure you guys would probably know. It's called "Had a Bad Day."
Oh, right. Yeah.
Had a bad day.
I tell you, every time I hear it, I'm like, no.
We should start singing it. I just said.
It's like, a phone call. I had a bad day.
Exactly.
Ironically, I saw my mom the night before.
All right.
And when I went, and she kept saying, the nurse, like, oh no, she's in a really good mood right now. Like, what? Because she was going through dementia, and so but she was in a plateau stage for some reason. And I went, oh, and so I came in. She goes, so you're here to see me? She goes, oh, good. And she goes, I got friends coming over tomorrow to visit. I go, oh, really? I said, yeah, friends of the neighborhood. She goes, yeah, they're coming over. And I go, oh, nice. Meanwhile, actually, no, that actually wasn't. What she was trying to tell me, I think, was, I have a busy day tomorrow. I've got lots to do. So you should maybe get going home, because you got to work first thing in the morning, right? I go, yeah, I got to work in the morning. She goes, okay, well, yeah, we'll see you again sometime. And it always stuck in my mind. I'll see you again sometime. I thought, what? Like, and when I was going home, and I thought, what was she saying? Basically, what she was saying is that I'm leaving Earth tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But the nurses had told me that she literally got in the shower. She didn't need any help. She said she had lots to do, so she got in the shower and she had her breakfast, and then she said, I need to take a little nap before my long voyage ahead. She took a nap and she didn't wake up. Wow. I'm like, oh my, I went, oh, wow. And then, she was up at like just after 6 o'clock in the morning, and she had her shower, breakfast, and I got a call at 8:31.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mom worked as an LPN in healthcare and worked in seniors cares, and one of the things she did notice is that towards the end, in like the last 48 to 72 hours, they perk up. Everything's like back to normal as if they were
Yeah.
like 100%. And
Yeah.
then after that, it just goes right.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that happens all the time.
Yeah.
You
She
know,
was like a
That-
comedian though. Like she was really humorous.
Yeah.
My mom always had a great humor because
Yeah.
she told them, she says, "Oh, I've got lots to do. I got to pack the bags, pack the bag."
Well, and that happened exactly with my wife too. Is
Oh, wow.
you know, there was a there was a there was a moment where we thought she was going to turn a corner, right? And yeah, she phoned me from the hospital because I was at the hospital a lot. I was at St. Paul's a lot, but the thing was, of course, is I was also a father at the time of a son who wasn't even 5 yet.
Yeah.
So it made it hard to be at the hospital when you have a 5-year-old son, right? And so there was lots of times where I had to be home too, unfortunately. But so there was one time that I was home and my wife called, and she was so there, like it was hard. It's hard to explain, like but she was 100% there, like 100% herself. Like it was just like talking to her like my whole life, like she was 100% there. And prior to that, she was complete, like a few days before that, she was completely unresponsive and like didn't even recognize who it was, and like in a really bad state. But she called me from the hospital, and she was quiet, but I could tell like she was 100% herself, and it was so incredible. I can't stress that enough, like how much of herself she was. And then like I went to the hospital the very next day, and then she was still alive at that time, but I went to go see her, and she was like gone. She was like a zombie. And like yeah. And then it was basically I think 3 days later she passed away. So it was like right at the end, like MJ was saying, right at the end, there was like this unbelievable clarity where she just like it was 100% her, and then it was like a huge decline, and then she was gone.
It's like Neil. It's like they blossom up to like perfect.
they plateau.
They plateau up, and that's what the nurse described to me, is that they plateau, and this is who they are, and then boom, it's just like that.
My situation was weird. It wasn't like that, other than like in the last day, she was like, she asked Heather if she can get some comic books, which I'd never asked her to do before. But but it was what like she had this wonderful. I mean, it's a good example of like how a person inspiring somebody can change their life. She had a wonderful person because she had a nurses coming, because what some of this like her itchiness caused by the thing was causing like scratching, which was uncontrollable, and so it was bleeding and struggling, and we were using these like buying like the expensive band-aids, and finally we got them to get us a nurse who would come in and actually take care of her here. And that's this one. She had a few nurses, and then she had this one nurse named Lorraine, who we actually got her flowers and wine. It's like, you guys shouldn't do that, but thank you. But because she was so amazingly wonderful to her, she was so inspiring. She helped her with things. She helped her like access resources and all kinds of stuff. And she inspired her so much. She's like, that's it. I want to get the weight off, and I want to start working again, because she hadn't talked about that for ages. Like she was like, she'd kind of given up, or sort of given up, or something like that. But with this person, all of a sudden, and this was like what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, like it was that close, and all of a sudden she, like, it's the same sort of thing where it's like all of a sudden she's really inspired and she wants to go for more walks, and we'd found a spot where I could drive her to, like in Beacon Hill Park, because they have a disabled spot in the middle of the park, so which is nice and flat, so she could go for more walks from there.
It's a
but she was
beautiful
going for, she had 2 workers working with her, so she was walking with them and with me. And so like that was the crazy thing, was like I was worried about something like this coming, like maybe, you know, worst case scenario in a few decades if we don't you know, get this stuff happening. And like, but otherwise everything was looking up, not down. So that's where it was just, it was like almost like back to what MJ said, where it's just like I say, it almost was like a sick joke when you hear those words, and you're just like, what? Like it's just it's just like it's impossible. That's the opposite. What? That's what? Is
it was like so
it's like, is this a wrong word? Like
it's like you know, person would think, well, I mean, they're fine. I mean, they look fine. They say that they're fine, and then all of a sudden, like, and I know it's life can be just so. I mean, at times, I don't want to speak for myself. I mean, on it, but I find that sometimes life can be so cruel in certain ways. Like it's just like why? And I kept questioning myself for years, Tom. I said, well, why? Like why did this have to happen in my life, like right now? And then I got talking to doctors about it too, and friends of the family. They said, you had no control over that, Brent.
Yeah.
You had no, it wasn't anything that you did. Like you know, you said, well, like maybe there was something that I could have done to differently that might have changed the outcome. And they're like, no, like, and I mean, for a while, I just, it just took a toll on me. And, but being there, but knowing that at the same time, knowing the people were there in my life that were just to listen, like, and I would just be like, it would be in my life and saying like, I'm here if you need to reach out, call me. And it really helped me along the way. And, there's still days, even now, like this time of the year. I look back and I say,
this time of year is hard for a lot of people.
It is.
This is what I'm worried about, because they mentioned that like there's a really.
We're here. I'm here for you.
Like in my usual style, I started reaching out to libraries and resources, and there was one really good book called The Grief Handbook by Bridget McNulty. I wrote that down. And it's funny, actually, it told me not to make any big decisions, and here I am with all this job stuff. It's like, but as it said, it's like you go through that first year of like firsts, and that really sucks. And then I imagine they still, like you said before, like they hit you each year. But especially like Christmas. Like one of the first things I said, which is, this is going to go pretty dark, but one of the struggles we had, of course, was I'm also divorced and Catholic. And so getting married was almost impossible anyway, let alone the disability side of the equation. So I've literally been divorced, broken up with, this situation, and cheated on. It's like my first joke I had was, do I get a set of steak knives? It's like, it's like, what the fuck? But so I'd already kind of experienced forms of that before, so I guess I was braced that way, and that I know Christmas can be brutal. And other things like like what you were saying, where all of a sudden you find your emotions are more to the edge. Like I found myself crying at movies. I'm like, I don't fucking cry at movies. When have I ever cried at a movie before? You know?
I go through that too.
Yeah. Then the worst part is then you start to realize that now you have all this time.
Yes.
And then you try to you realize that all these things that you used to do, you're not going to be doing anymore, ever again. You're not, and then all of these little things will just start to every single one of them just start to hit you. Right. And it's like you're going, whoa. Right. And sometimes it'll just rip you down to your knees. You'll be in like I say, you'll be standing in the bathtub taking a shower, and you'll just fall to your knees. You just are done.
And
right?
Go ahead.
So this is this first year, I mean, you're going to be finding, I have all this time, I have no one to talk to, I need something to do. I'm, and then you have that vacancy in your head, and that's where the vacancy sits there, and it'll start to fester and start to bug at you and eat at you if you don't find something to do to keep yourself occupied.
But that's
like the mandolin thing, and
it's like
stuff like that. And like one of the other things that I thought about, because I've had the ability to reflect on the fact of that other stuff, is that with a breakup, like a normal breakup, you can say to yourself, "Nah, it wasn't working out."
Mhm.
You can't say that with this. It was fine.
No,
you
no,
know?
you can't. No, you
like,
can't.
and like there's not that kind of like, well, maybe something will. No, something won't.
Yeah.
And
No,
you're
this is
also thinking
permanent.
like, I
Yeah.
don't want to move on. like in
And-
those other
and
situations,
this
like
is
maybe
where-
I should start dating. It's like, no.
And this is where I say, like, you
Yeah.
really do undergo a personality change.
Yeah.
Like I am nowhere near the person that I was before this happened. Like I'm actually quite completely different, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's like you but you can't help it. It's just like you go through, like, it's, I don't know what to call it, like a butterfly thing, where, like, you come
Yep.
out totally different, like a completely different creature at the end of it. It's just like,
Right.
and you can't help but undergo that, right?
Well,
Mhm.
for example, I mean, 5 years ago, I mean, I was extremely antisocial, right? And now it's like I'm more sociable, communicative, being able to articulate my thoughts. And it's like in 5 years, it's like you sit there and you realize, wow, that in that because it's only been 4 years, but before that, you start to put time together, and it's like you realize now you have all this time, you can work on this or that or whatever thing that you find an interest in, you
Yeah.
know, and it seems weird to go and say that, you know, I mean, at some point you feel this sigh of relief
Yeah.
that the agony is over with,
Yeah.
and that the pain is over with.
Yeah.
At the same time, it just eats you alive because the
Yeah.
pain and agony is over with, and you almost want to keep that pain and agony going because it's
Yeah.
familiar, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like these pink unicorns when they just start kind of just flying around everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to get a dart and I want to throw them at these pink unicorns.
We're 20 minutes past the hour, Brent. I was gonna cut it shorter, but we've had a good
Yeah.
conversation, so I didn't
No,
want
it
to,
is.
I didn't want to interrupt too much.
I don't know if
but
I have any other kind of like points or anything.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I basically got everything I wrote down, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
I
I've
just
gone out there and
play
visited
music,
a few
I just
times.
play music too, Tom.
Well, I've been married.
I don't have any like songs queued up or anything that I can
Yeah,
think of.
but it's funny you said about writing things down, and I've been married twice now, and
Yeah.
both times I remember I had family members telling me, are you gonna write down a speech? And I said, what do you mean write it down? Like, why should I write it down? I'm gonna speak from the heart.
Yeah.
And both times I never even wrote a single word down on my first marriage or my second marriage. And it's important sometimes to just go unrehearsed and just speak from the heart.
Yeah.
And
And
I think
that's
It
one
was
thing.
good for the book thing because I wouldn't have remembered, but like everything else, I pretty much didn't even. I kind of went. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I felt like
that's
I was supposed to do kind of a thing, so I tried to do a thing.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I've learned in life. Like when I was just a kid, I would be so quiet. Like we'd go for a ride. My mom didn't drive, but my dad did, and then of course my dad left when I was just a kid. Yeah, they divorced, and but my dad would take us for drives, right, on country roads and stuff, right. I was to see all and there was no cars around. Like there was no cars for miles. I mean, way back then, eh? This how far this fast this little sucker can go. I'm like, oh god, But anyway, it was kind of fun, But it was one of those dead end roads, like we say, dead end. So of course, But I remember back when I would be sitting in the car and they'd be like, "Is Brent sleeping?" I always remember hearing that. No, he's looking around. I never had anything to say because I always felt that my voice didn't need to be heard.
Right.
And I guess I kept thinking that, well, what I need to say wasn't important or whatever. And so I was very quiet, very shy, very quiet, very not really antisocial, but really just. And then as I got older, I realized going through school, no, what you need to say is important. put your hand up. Oh, is it? No, no. Okay, I guess not. I guess not.
Yeah.
Put my hand. No, I guess not. And then I'm finally, as time went on, I used to have disagreements with my mom because my mom would say, well, you can't change the system. The system, no, it's that, the government's just the way it is and you have to accept the fact. And finally, like, we got into major disagreements. And then I taught my mom things, and God rest her soul, but I taught her things that, and I learned this in college, because they kept saying, Brent, if it's something important that you believe in, you need to stand with what you believe in and don't stand down. But learn from things. If because I said, I'm not always right on everything, but I learn from people. And then, so they said, there's like a little pedestal where you learn and you grow from that point on. So I taught my mom that yes, we can change things. And I think she became to realize it. So I taught her a lot. She taught me a lot. And as like I say, those are the memories, Tom, that I cherish. Like I think back at all the good things that are in life, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's But I'm gonna leave this tune with Tom here. I want to thank everybody for tuning into our show today. And it's all about disability stories. And it's
And we'll be back next week with another one, and it's going to be a 9-part series. And I'm just really happy with how today went, actually. And again, my whole goal as a producer was to give the respect that death deserves, because death deserves respect, right? And I think our politicians, be it in Canada or the federal ones or the provincial ones, don't give the respect that death deserves. And that's all I have to say about that. So but I'm really happy with what we shared today. It was a good show.
Absolutely. And I thank everyone that's been listening to the call online on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, and MJ for being on here with us today. And again, next week there'll be another great episode of a 9 series.
I'm pretty sure it'll be Cassandra coming on talking about her homelessness situation.
Okay, great. And I want to thank Tom for sharing his.
Thank you, Tom. Good show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just I was like, wait a minute, I thought of one song, and there's some songs I haven't been able to listen to, but this one I have. We used to sing this together, so I was going to close off on this.
Yeah.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. I'm gonna do the whole thing, but
yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day.
Cheers.